Good evening. This is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, ready for another Monday night stamp and share. I'm so glad you could be with me tonight and join me. We're going to do another card featuring the Snowflake Wishes stamp set and the So Many Snowflakes coordinating die set that goes with it. Tonight we're going to be focusing on this card here, which features really the beauty of the dies and how you can do something a little different with them than the normal. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Before we get into that, I wanted to make you aware I have not posted the projects for December. I'm still working on a couple of them, but I do want to go ahead and tell you what stamp and die sets I'm going to be using in case you want to order those so that you can craft along with me. I'm going to be using on page 17 of the mini catalog that goes through the end of December. I'm using two bundles, the Christmas season bundle and the Christmas to remember bundle. You can order these individually as each bundle, or you can get this whole painted Christmas suite, which is a really good value because you get all the paper, you get the ribbon, you get these little gold leaves, and then you get both bundles. So that's a really good way to get all of this. But if you want to be able to do the projects with me, normally I just feature one stamp set and one die set. But just because the way the projects are working out, I'll be using elements from both of these. If you order $50 worth of stuff, I send you the stuff to make 4 of each project. I will send you anything that's die cut, but you'll still need the stamp sets to do your own stamping. So I just wanted to get that announcement out of the way. And then let's go back to our card that we're going to be working on tonight. So we're going to create this card, and we're really going to let the dies do the work for us to make a really cool effect on our card. So let's just go ahead and get started with what we need. I'm going to be using basic white for the card base. And this is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of this gold paper. If you order this, this comes in it's 6 by 6 sheets. You get the gold and the rose gold, both in the pack. And this is 5 1/4 by 4. Then you need a piece of basic white that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then just a scrap of Gorgeous Grape. We're going to die cut a snowflake from that. And then we're going to be using Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape inks. And then we're also going to be using a few of these little gold metallic rounds here. So that's what we're going to need. This is a really quick card to put together. If you need one that you can make a lot of, you can make a lot of these. If you want just that one special card that you can give to someone, this would be a great one for that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is we want to stamp our greeting on the front, because we're going to be doing these die cuts and we want to make sure that our greeting has room. We can go back and add the rest of it in between, but the greeting is the most important thing that we want to be sure to have room for. So let's start with that. So I'm going to bring in my piece of basic white, and we're going to be using the stamp that says, "Our friendship is one of a kind." And I'm going to bring in, because these are polymer, I'm going to bring in a piece of foam that I'm going to stamp on because that'll give us a better impression. And I'm going to be using Gorgeous Grape. I'm just going to open this up and get this inked up. And we're going to stamp this in somewhere towards the lower right is where we want to stamp it. So I'm just going to stamp it right down in here. Okay, and while we have the Gorgeous Grape out, we are also going to be stamping the inside of the card with Gorgeous Grape. And we're using this stamp that says, in the coldest, let me read it from the front of the case, it's easier to read. In the coldest moments of the year, my heart is warm because you are near. So that's what we're going to stamp on the inside. Let me show you the inside of the card. So we're just going to be stamping the greeting in the middle, and then we're going to do some snowflakes on the corners just to give it a little extra touch. So we're just going to go ahead and do the gorgeous grape part now. So again, I'm just going to ink this up. And I'm going for just getting this in the middle. Get this somewhat straight so I can get it in the middle. I'm just going to press that down. Just like that. Now we're going to do a little die cutting. And then we'll go back to do our Highland Heather ones at the end. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my die cut machine. Hopefully soon I'll have the Stampin' Up! Mini to be able to do this with on camera. It'll make it so much easier. So I'm going to start with the gorgeous grape. And I'm just doing a die cut of this little snowflake. You could pick any of the little snowflakes that are in the die set. This is the one I'm using. And I'm just going to run this through. I'm going to need to turn this around so I can get to the handle. Okay. So there we have the snowflake. Now on the piece that we just stamped, we're going to be doing this larger snowflake, and there's a couple different snowflakes in there. You can choose which one you like. I want it to go off the edge a little bit, and I want to do one up here and one down here. So I'm going to start with the one down at the bottom. I want it to kind of go around the greeting that we already stamped. So I'm just going to, because what's going to happen is that gold piece that we are going to layer underneath, the gold is going to show up through this. So I think about like that is where I want to do it. So I'm going to run this through. And then I'm just going to run this, because it's a little more delicate, I'm just going to run it back through just to make sure we get it cut good. A lot of times I'll run them through a couple times like that just to make sure it cuts. Okay, and then I'm going to put this at the top, and I'm going to be cutting out a snowflake up in here. And you can decide where you want to put these, how much of the snowflake you want to be on here. I think like that will work. And then I'm going to run this through. And I'm going to go back through just a couple times. The better it cuts through, the less work we'll have to do to get all the little pieces out. So I'm going to pull this out. And we're done with that die cut, and I'm just going to pull this off. And I just keep a scrap piece here that I put all these little flakes on so that I can throw them away at the end. I have just a scrap here. I'm just going to scrape these off. Now, if you notice, one thing that you might want to do, this is totally up to you, but some of the little pieces that come out of this snowflake, let's see if I can isolate, kind of looks like a little heart. You could save those little pieces and then use them like in a shaker card. If you were, especially like a Valentine's Day shaker card, you could always save a bunch of these and use them in a shaker card. So definitely when you're using the die cuts like this, look at the little pieces and see if there's anything you think you can do with them. Okay, so I'm just going to come in with my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm just going to start punching out these little pieces. This takes a few minutes, but it's not bad. This die really isn't bad. Some real delicate dies, this could be quite a process, but this one's not too bad. I'm just going to continue to punch these out. Sometimes with shaker cards, we look for, you know, all these things to put inside when sometimes you have things left over from your die cut that you can make use of. I keep a little container, and anything that I think looks like it could be useful, I just keep in there, so that when I go to make a shaker card, I pull out my container and I've got some little options. So just a little tip, like these ones are just little dots. You could use those in a lot of different themed shaker cards. So I'm going to keep punching these out. And if you didn't want to punch all the little circles out, you could definitely leave them in. So I'm just going to keep punching. You can see these are falling out pretty easy. Worst ones to punch out are those little center dots for some reason. But these outer pieces are coming out really easy. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, you're probably thinking, well, why didn't you do this ahead of time? Because I do this on Facebook Live, I take the time and go ahead and do it while you're watching, because if someone's crafting along with me and I have it done ahead of time and I just skip ahead, then they're going to have trouble keeping up. So that's why I'm taking the time to go ahead and do all this, so that if you're doing it along with me, you won't miss out on anything, because we'll be doing it together. So then if you just rub along the back, you'll be able to scrape those extra pieces off. So I'm just going to turn it over so I can find those that are hanging on. I've got a few more pieces to do down here. It looks like some of these don't want to come out. Now you can, I'm going to go ahead and show you this just because I think it's a good tip if you're not used to using dies. Sometimes we forget that this could be new to people, so I want to make sure to show you. These dies are pretty easy to line back up. So let's say I wanted to run this back through to get those little circles, to get them to cut through. These are very easy to line back up. So you can, when you lay it in here, I mean, it will just fall right into place and lay into what you've already cut. So that when you run it back through, you're cutting the exact same spot that you've already cut. It just plops right in there. So I'm just going to run this through again a couple times, and it'll make those little dots pop right out. It just kind of seats right down in what you've already done, so that makes it really easy. Okay. So you can see it didn't double cut because I was able to put it right back in the same spot. So I'm going to bring my scrap back here, and I'm going to continue getting the rest of these little dots out of here. And you can see now they're just popping right out. So you can definitely do that if you're having trouble getting them out. Okay, I'm feeling along the back, and I think I've got all of our pieces done. Now that we have our die cutting done, we can better see where we want to do the rest of our stamping. So I'm going to bring my foam back in so we can do our stamping. Now our little gorgeous grape snowflake, I'm going to go ahead and pop it out. Let me show you this too, because you can see that the snowflake stuck in the die. When I turn this over, if you see the little holes and you take your pick tool in those, it will loosen that cardstock on the back for you to be able to get a hold of it and pull it out of the die. I'm going to go ahead and pop a few more. Just go around those little circles and it will loosen that up. I'm going to go ahead and punch out the middle ones, because those are actually holes cut in it. And I can see where I've got it, and see, it'll fall right out then. So that's an easy way to get it, you know, if it's stuck in there, you don't have to worry, it's not ruined. You can just pop it out. Okay. So I'm just getting all the little pieces off of here. I'm just going to turn it over on the back and pull these off. Sometimes the little pieces will hang on the back. Okay, so I know that I'm going to be putting this snowflake somewhere up in here. So I'm just going to lay that down just so I know where it's going to go. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just glue it down so that we can do our other stamping around it. So I'm just using liquid glue. I'm just looking to see if my silicone mat is handy. I don't see it. So I'm just going to bring in a block just so I don't get glue on my surface. So I'm just going to turn my piece over on the back, and I'm just going to put some dots of liquid glue on there. Oh, I just found my silicone mat. That's going to work out even better. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this in, and it doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes a few little dots. So I can get it started. Ooh, there it started coming out. Whatever was holding it back must have broke loose. Okay. All right, and so I'm just going to lay this on here where I want it to go. And I'm going to press that down. Set that aside for a moment. Now we can go ahead and do the rest of our stamping that we're going to do. So I'm using Highland Heather. And I'm using this series of little snowflakes, different size snowflakes. And I'm just going to randomly put those around in the white spots of the card. So you can do as many of these or as few of these as you want, just to give your card, you know, just to fill up some of that white space. And I want to bring in a scrap underneath so that if I want to go off the edge of the cardstock I can, and it'll just go on that paper. Okay, so that's all I'm doing, is I'm just taking the Highland Heather and I'm just filling in the white spots. Just trying to see how I like it best. And I think probably every card you do will look different, because it'll depend exactly where you put your snowflakes and how many you put and all that kind of thing. Okay, I think that's all I want to do with that. But I want to bring in the card base, because I want to do these little snowflakes in the top and bottom corners. So I'm just going to ink this up. I got a little ink on the edge of my block, and I want to make sure to get that off so that it doesn't transfer to my cardstock. So I'm just going to put one in the top corner, top right corner, and then I'm going to put one in the lower left corner. Just like that. And we're done with the Highland Heather. I'm going to move the card base out of the way. Now we're ready to start putting the card together. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to attach this, the piece that we die cut and stamped, we want to attach that to our gold piece. So I'm going to use liquid glue because I want to be sure and to get these edges where we die cut, I want to be sure to have glue along those edges. So I'm just going to do like a scribbly in the white places. Along the edge. I'm going to go in between a little bit. And then I want to make sure to get dots of glue on those little wings on the sides, anywhere where the die cut is, to hold those little edges down. And I've just always done little dots along edges like that. You can do it whatever works for you. I'm just doing some dots in between. Okay. And I'm just going to forgot that I had used that and had glue on it. Luckily it didn't mess anything up. Okay, and then so we're just going to line this up on our gold piece. The other thing about the liquid glue is for this, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. If you don't get it where you want it, you need to move it. But see how pretty that is with the gold coming up through the die cut? It just gives it that extra pizzazz, and it just makes it look extra Christmassy, I think. I like anything that glitters, anything that sparkles. That's my favorite kind of thing, so I just love this card. Okay, and then for the back, I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal because I don't have those little die cut areas to get through. I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal for this. And then this just goes on the front of our card. And I like to use the longer side to line up. It just makes it easier for me. Then I'm just going to fold this. I'm just going to come in with my bone folder and just give that a crease. And there we have it. And the only thing left to do is to put our little gold beading on. Now I know I had those little gold jewels a moment ago because I showed them to you. And now, oh, here they are. I always do that when I'm doing a live video. I always hide stuff from myself. So I'm just going to use 3 of the little gold gems on here. And I wanted to start with one. I knew I wanted to put one in the middle of my Gorgeous Grape die cut snowflake. So I'm just putting that in the middle. And then I just want to add 2 more somewhere else on the card. And I always like to try to go in a triangle pattern. So let's bring one here. Maybe over here, like that. And then one maybe in here, just like that. And there we have it. We have the little the little gold beads to give us a little bit of extra pizzazz. We've got the shiny, glimmery, sparkly gold coming through the die cuts. And then we've got the stamping on the inside. Plenty of room to still write your message. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll give it a try. You'll want to be sure and join me next week. We're going to be doing a Christmas ornament out of paper. We're only going to be using one of the die cuts to make a decoration for the hanger of the ornament, but most of it's just going to be scoring and folding and gluing little pieces of paper. So I hope you will be sure and join me for that. I can tell you December's projects, I think they're going to be really cool. I think you're going to like them, so definitely be watching. I hope to have those posted by the end of the week, and I will be back next Monday night to craft with you again soon.